Imagine living in a quiet American town where it had been raining for days. The rivers were high, the streets were muddy, but no one was truly afraid because floods had happened before. Children were still playing near the water. Factory workers were finishing their shifts. Families were eating late afternoon meals. Life felt normal. But 14 miles away, hidden deep in the mountains above the town, a massive dam was slowly giving up. Behind it sat an enormous lake, and that lake was about to break free. At 3:10 in the afternoon, the dam collapsed. In seconds, 20 million tons of water exploded down the valley. It moved faster than a horse could run. It carried trees, trains, houses, and entire buildings in its path. And within minutes, a 40-foot-high wall of water slammed into the town of Johnstown. By the time it was over, more than 2,200 people were dead, and an entire American town had nearly vanished from the map. This is the terrifying true story of the worst flood disaster in 19th century America. If you enjoy true historical stories and fascinating facts, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like the video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who loves history.
In the late 1800s, the town of Johnstown was a busy industrial community tucked inside a narrow valley. Steel mills roared day and night. Railroad tracks crisscrossed the town. Smoke from factories rose into the sky like a signal of progress. Thousands of immigrants had come there, chasing the American dream. Many worked exhausting shifts in the steel mills owned by powerful industrialists like Andrew Carnegie. Life was hard, but families believed their future would be better. Children ran through muddy streets. Church bells echoed every Sunday morning. Neighbors lived close together, helping each other through the struggles of industrial life. Yet above the town, hidden in the mountains nearly 14 miles away, there was something that always made some residents uneasy. A massive earthen structure called the South Fork Dam. Behind that dam sat a large lake known as Lake Conemaugh. Originally, the dam had been built to support Pennsylvania's canal system decades earlier. But by the 1880s, the canals were gone. The lake had been purchased by an exclusive group of wealthy businessmen who formed the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club. For the rich members of the club, the lake was paradise. They built luxurious summer cottages along the shore. They sailed boats across the calm water. They fished, hunted, and relaxed far away from the noise of industry. But over time, the dam protecting the lake had been altered. Engineers later discovered that important safety systems had been removed. Parts of the dam had even been lowered to make space for a road. Maintenance was often ignored. Many locals quietly feared the dam would fail someday. Then came the rain. In May of 1889, a massive storm system moved across Pennsylvania. It rained for days. Rivers overflowed. Streams turned into raging currents. Telegraph operators reported flooding across the region. On May 30, the water in Lake Conemaugh began rising rapidly. Workers at the dam grew nervous. The spillway designed to release excess water was clogged with debris. Men tried desperately to dig channels and clear the blockage. They shoveled mud, they moved rocks, they worked for hours in heavy rain, but the water kept rising. By the morning of May 31st, the lake was dangerously close to spilling over the top of the dam. Down in Johnstown, residents were already dealing with rising rivers. Basements flooded, some streets disappeared underwater. But floods had happened before. Most people believed the worst that would happen was a few damaged homes. They had no idea what was coming. Then, shortly after 3 p.m., the unthinkable happened. The South Fork Dam broke. In one violent moment, the lake exploded through the broken barrier. Nearly 20 million tons of water rushed forward like a living monster. The flood roared down the narrow valley at incredible speed. Witnesses later said the sound was like constant thunder. Trees were ripped from the ground. Entire houses were lifted and carried like toys. Railroad cars tumbled through the water. Small villages along the valley were destroyed in seconds. People barely had time to run. And as the flood moved downhill, it grew larger and more powerful. By the time it reached Johnstown, the wave had become a terrifying 40-foot wall of water mixed with debris. Residents saw it coming only moments before impact. Some ran, some climbed rooftops, others grabbed doors, barrels, or anything that might float. Then the flood struck. Buildings shattered instantly, factories collapsed, houses slammed into each other like drifting boats. Streets disappeared beneath a violent river of wood, metal, and broken glass. People were swept away, struggling to stay alive among thousands of pieces of wreckage. Within minutes, most of the town was destroyed. But the horror wasn't over yet. As the flood slowed, enormous piles of debris collected against a railroad bridge. Hundreds of survivors were trapped inside the tangled mass of wood, buildings, and metal. That night, something even worse happened. The debris caught fire. Flames spread rapidly across the wreckage. Many survivors who had escaped the water now faced an inferno. By the time the disaster ended, more than 2,200 people had lost their lives. Entire families disappeared. Hundreds of victims were never identified. News of the catastrophe shocked the nation. Newspapers across America printed heartbreaking images and stories of the destruction. One of the first major relief efforts came from the American Red Cross, led by its founder, Clara Barton. Her team arrived quickly and built shelters for thousands of homeless survivors. They distributed food, clothing, and medical supplies. They helped rebuild lives in a town that had almost vanished overnight. The disaster also raised difficult questions. Many Americans believed the wealthy owners of the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club were responsible for failing to maintain the dam properly. But surprisingly, no one was ever legally punished. Still, the tragedy sparked national outrage and eventually helped shape modern American laws about corporate responsibility and negligence. Over time, Johnstown rebuilt itself. Homes were reconstructed, factories reopened, railroads returned. Life slowly came back to the valley, but the memory of that terrible afternoon in 1889 never faded. Today, historians still study the Johnstown Flood as one of the deadliest disasters in American history. The rivers flowing quietly through Johnstown today seem peaceful, but beneath that calm water lies the memory of a day when a dam broke and an entire town was nearly washed away.